Hello, everybody. Um, Welcome to episode 3 of The Joy of Coding. I'm going to be hacking on some Firefox bugs, and you can follow along as I do my thing, and hopefully we'll get some work done. So let's get right down to it. I'm going to be doing this for about an hour and a half, so don't have too much time, but I'm going to mute my camera so that you can see what the plan is. So here is my agenda. First of all, again, a reminder that no plan survives breakfast. I'm going in here without too much of a plan on like this isn't something I've pre-planned or anything or pre-scripted. I just kind of know what I need to do this afternoon, and you're just going to follow me along as I do it. Think of it as like a ride along in an episode of Cops, where who knows what I'm going to be running into. Um, I should probably be playing like Bad Boys or something as I do this. Okay, so the first thing to do is we were working on printing on Linux for E10S last week, and I'd actually gotten a good chunk of the way done, and I put a series of patches up for review, and I actually got review from it from Carl Tomlinson, who's kind of our GTK guy on the widget side on platform. He came back with a bunch of feedback, so I need to examine that feedback, internalize it, figure out what I'm going to be doing with that feedback, maybe implement some of his suggestions or propose alternatives to his suggestions. So I haven't actually read that feedback. I just know that I received it. So you get to follow along as I read his feedback and figure out what he's saying to me. So that feedback is down here somewhere. I received feedback where? That was on the 10th. I did receive feedback from him. Hold on a second. Maybe it wasn't in this bug. Maybe it was in a separate bug. May have been this one. Yeah, okay, it's in here. It's in here. Okay, so let's read up on what he's saying. Starting here. So, usually we try to minimize includes of headers in headers. The classes with pointers and references and the parameters to the new methods can be forward declared, I assume. Okay, so what he's saying is inside of NSPrint options GTK header, I'm importing printing.h. Let's actually take a look at the code, in the code where he's talking about in my patch. So let's check this out. So here I added like a header file, and that was just because I needed to use this print data struct, I think it is. Yeah, this print data struct to make reference to it. But he's saying that I could actually just forward declare that, and then I don't have to include that the header itself, which is good. I have a feeling we don't like to include headers in headers because it slows building down. It also adds like complexity, I think, in terms of build dependencies and whatnot. So I agree with him there. That is something that I should do. And he says, I don't think this using statement is required in the CPP file, which is down here. He doesn't think I need to use, like, declare this namespace, or that I'm using this namespace. And he's probably right, because notice that I was just directly referencing Mozilla embedding print data in here. So either I get rid of this or I get rid of these. Either will be fine. Right, so that's a thing. Next. Yes, so to summarize, I agree with everything he's saying in here. Next. Da, 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 da. And I'm just going to change my IRC nick so that people know that I'm live hacking and I probably shouldn't be pinged or anything. Okay, I guess this is because serialized to print data doesn't serialize failure in get duplex, so set duplex asserts when called with uninitialized values. Yes, that is why I did that. So what he's referring to is a change I made in, I think, this patch. Is it this one? Yeah, he's talking about this bit. And that's referring to this section of the code where what I was doing was, because for Linux printing, we have this setting that we set for duplex. Duplex is, if I understand correctly, is like, what was duplex? I think it's like double-sided printing. Let me just double check. Printing duplex. I just want to know what I'm talking about. Printing duplex. That allows printing of a sheet of paper on both sides. Yes. So Linux allows us, or GTK allows us to set duplex to be like a particular value, whether or not it's simple or something else. And I had altered the code so that we defaulted to the simple case, which is not printing on both sides. And he says, okay. Right, so if that's not actually set, if get duplex is not set, so it doesn't, and yeah, serialize to print data, which is this like function, this sort of generic function that every print settings implementation runs to serialize and deserialize all of this sort of generic information across of OS X, Windows, and Linux. And one of them we're not doing, and that's the duplex values. It doesn't serialize values in get duplex, so set duplex asserts when called with uninitialized values. I'd prefer to deal with this in get duplex, as there is no guarantee that the setting will still be present when get duplex is called. Get duplex should return either a default or a special value that set duplex might recognize. With the set GTK print settings approach described above, the original set of settings prior to serialization will be restored anyway, regardless of what get duplex returns. So I think this is the operative paragraph here, and I just need to figure out what he's saying to me. Get duplex could return either a default, I like that idea, just having a default for get duplex, or a special value that set duplex might recognize. That sounds a little more involved. With the set GTK print settings approach described above, the original set of setting, what set GTK print settings approach is he referring to? I suspect my similar browsers were to use GTK print settings and call as print settings GTK set GTK print settings, which it's possible I failed to do here. Did I forget to do a thing? I did. I did. I forgot to set GTK print settings. So the original set of settings will be restored anyway, regardless of what get duplex returns. So I'm guessing what he's basically saying is I should be calling set GTK print settings here after I've gone ahead and deserialized all of them to, I guess, I think that's to populate all of the things. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Get duplex. I'm kind of babbling, but let me show you what I'm talking about. So in get in NS print settings GTK, the implementation of print settings for Linux GTK, we have get duplex, and we have set duplex. And if you, I was hitting this crash before because, what was I doing? It was under set duplex because the duplex value that I was getting was out of bounds because it was, what I was actually getting was an NS error failure because the GTK print settings on the, I guess the side that was doing the deserialization hadn't gotten its internal mprint settings saved, I guess. So anyways, what I was getting from get duplex was NS error failure. And then when I try and set that value, NS error failure resolves to like this massive integer. And that's definitely outside these bounds. So whenever I was trying to set duplex to what I had gotten before, I would hit this Moz assert and I would crash. So I have a feeling Carl T is right again, and I should probably be calling set GTK print settings. So you know what? I actually should be, as usual, I should be writing all of this down so that I can keep track of it. Right. So things to do. Things to do. I have other things to do in here. Some of this needs to be updated, and I'll go over it. I'll go over it later, but this is the most important stuff to do right now. So the first thing to do was in, what was it, NS print options. Sorry if flipping back and forth with Command Tab is causing the screen to blur. I apologize. I have to remove p-printing. Yeah, I think it's pre-printing. P-printing, yeah. .h and forward declare the print data struct instead. Then the next thing to do is remove the using namespace in print options GTK. So I should have said .h up here, disambiguate .cpp down here, or actually make use of it when referring to print data. Next is down here, try calling set GTK print settings after deserialization. I didn't spell that right. In deserialize to print, what was it? Deserialize to, what did I call it? Deserialize to print settings. And remove the initialize, the set duplex inside the NS print settings GTK initializer. So that's an experiment. I think Carl's right, and we should try that. So the next thing that he wanted us to do, please use file static internal linkage or an anonymous namespace for this function to keep it out of the header file. It doesn't seem to need access to NSPrint options GTK private members. Serialize GTK print setting. So I had this function added, serialize GTK print settings to print data, which is like this helper function. This helper function. So one thing that Carl suggested I do, maybe you remember from a couple episodes ago, I was like going through each of the settings that I thought that GTK print settings would need and setting it and getting it in the child and then serializing it and then setting it in the parent and vice versa. Like it was kind of tricky, and I had to know exactly what settings were needed. We would need to serialize and deserialize. But Carl pointed out something very interesting, which is that all of the, like in the background, a print settings GTK, or sorry, I should say, a GTK print settings thing it's an object that GTK provides to us. It's actually it's an interface to what's essentially a hash table, where the keys are strings and the values are strings, despite the fact that sometimes those values are implicitly cast to things like booleans or integers or something. I say implicitly. I don't actually think it's implicit. I think you actually retrieve, like you say, I would like this value as an int, I would like this value as a bool, and it will return it as that particular type. But in the back end, it's all strings. So what I'm able to do actually, instead of piecemeal figuring out what settings I need to serialize and deserialize, is I just grab everything. There's this function called GTK print settings for each that I can call, and I pass it to GTK print settings and a function that is called for each item, because GTK is super callback based. It's very callbacky. And what it will do is it will create this, I've created the struct called key value, which is very simple. It's a key value pair struct. And I will set the key to be the key and the value to be the value. And then I will append the element to this key value array that I added to the print data struct. So what we end up having is an array of key value pairs that we send over instead of the individual settings themselves, which is great because we don't have to care about the settings anymore, the individual settings. We just send them all over, deserialize them in the same way because we can um, set them over here. So this is on the deserialization side. We go through each of the items and we actually manually set each of them. We say GTK print settings set, and then we pass it the GTK print settings that we're setting on, and then the key and the value pair, and then we're done. We just need to make sure, I guess we just need to make sure that we call set GTK print settings after we're done. Otherwise, we don't get all the goodies. I have a feeling that set GTK print settings is actually, that's not GTK's fault. That's the NS print settings GTK implementation from Gecko that wraps the GTK print settings. Wow, big mouthfuls. Let's keep going. What was I talking about? I was talking about this function that actually does the job of going through those individual settings, this one. And I've actually, I put it in the header for this NS print options GTK. Not even thinking about it, and Carl thinks that it shouldn't be in the header. It should be pretty private. Like, what does he say? File static internal linkage, or an anonymous namespace, or anything to keep it out of the header file. So I agree. I think that's a good idea because it's nobody else's business. This will never be used outside of this file. So let's get the what was it called? Serialized GTK print settings to print data out of the NS print settings GTK header. Cool. Next, for the key value structure we're talking about, perhaps this could be C string key value to be more specific. He doesn't really mind. Sure. I mean, it's naming is important. I guess. Isn't it called Hungarian notation whenever you put the type inside the variable name? And I don't even know if Hungarian notation is like a good thing or a bad thing. I just know that it's called Hungarian notation. I'm pretty sure. Hungarian notation. Pretty sure. Yeah. So I don't care that much. I'll consider it. It's not a big deal. That's something that we can, that's easy. That's an easy thing to change. So renames, that's the sort of thing that we can save right to the very end. So I'll keep that at the bottom of the key value to string key value. I'll keep that at the bottom of the list. So there's no need to check that the NS print settings GTK has a GTK page setup and GTK paper size if they are not used, right? This is inside NS print options GTK. Where did he say that? Here. That's true. We're not using them. That's a good point. We don't use either of these. Remove unused. That's pretty sloppy of me. Remove unused GTK print, or what was it? Print page setup and paper size. And GTK paper size from deserialization method. Pretty sloppy. That's why we review. You have someone come in and actually apply their brain power and find the things that I can't see anymore because I've been working too close for it. Sorry, too close to it. So, hey, he liked my documentation. What did I say? Constructs and holds reference. It also does the job of signing and creating. Not having any of these things as thing that's passed in is unexpected. I'd prefer to avoid using friend classes and instead make some necessary methods public if necessary, but this is probably not necessary. So I had added what as a friend class? NS print options GTK, and that was so that, why did I do that? Oh, so that I did that for a reason. What was the reason? I made it so that something needed to reach into something else. Shoot, why did I do that? Print options, print options. Oh, it's so, what? Settings needed to know about print options so that options could reach into settings. That's why. Settings needed to like get access to the paper size and what else? At least I think it did at the time. Yeah, I needed to do things like this. And so he's saying that instead of using a friend class, I should make some of those methods public. If I understand correctly, as print options deserialized print settings will call set paper name with height to save the paper size in various places, including GTK print settings. GTK print settings set will then change the GTK print settings to have the values from the GTK print settings in the other process. And then the explicit save new page size will restore the values in the GTK print settings to be those from set paper name with height. If the values from different sources are equivalent, there is no need for save new page size, but I suspect there may be variations due to the various conversions. I suspect it would be simple to provide a better representation of the original state if NS print options GTK deserialized print settings were to use GTK print settings new and call NS print settings GTK set GTK print settings. Then I think it's fine to drop the early returns for failed checks on get GTK print settings and the private on paper size. If you'd like to keep the get GTK page setup check, I'd prefer to make it an assertion within an if-def debug to clarify that it's just to check that the code is behaving as expected and that page setup is not being fetched for use. Okay. That's going to take that. I'm going to need to unwrap that in my head. I'll come back to that. By the way, if there are any problems with the stream or the audio, do drop into the IRC channel and let me know. I can turn up my mic volume, turn it down. I can adjust the resolution, etc., all sorts of things to make sure that you're getting the most that you can out of the stream. You can also tweet at me or send me a Facebook message or something. So on this review, so like I said, I'll come back to this. This sounds kind of important. I should write that down. So I don't know what I'll call this. GTK. Carl T's get GTK print settings new idea. So let's come back to that. Let's just get a sense of what he's asking for in total, and then we can move on. So more issues. This is good. Code review is good. I like. It's no good if people just kind of wave your patches through. You want people to kick the tires. This is good. Can these new methods be protected or private, please? Absolutely they can. In NS device context spec GTK, make the printer enumerator and start print job methods private or protected. Probably private. This is okay if you initialize maccepts PDF in the NS print settings GTK constructor, but perhaps a simpler approach than serializing accepts PDF is to call set output format here, or in NS print settings GTK set GTK printer. Is to call set output format here. He's talking about here. Where is he talking about? Is this okay if you initially accept, initialize maccepts PDF in the NS print settings GTK constructor, but perhaps a simpler approach than serializing accepts PDF is to call set output format here, or in set GTK printer. So maybe there's, I think what he's saying is basically there's already a way that we can, like we don't have to add this accepts PDF Boolean to print data. I think there's something already in here for, what do you say? What was it called? Output format? Output format. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. That was, again, sloppy. Remove X PDF bool from print data and have, what was it? The thing is, who was setting it? S print settings GTK. No, it's NS print dialog GTK. It's print dialog GTK, set the output format instead. So basically, stash this value in the output format. Great. That's a great suggestion. Thanks, Carl. End document is called from the NS print data destructor. So I don't think we can assume that this is a safe place to run the event loop. Ruh-roh. Instead, dispatch an event that will call GTK enumerate printers. There could be issues with asynchronicity if get surface for printer calls are repeated after end document. So either assert this doesn't happen or pass mspool file to the event. So I think he wants me to like use a runnable here. Use a runnable so that we exit this function, which is, what was it, enumerate printers? We want to exit this end document function so that the print, what does he say? The print data destructor runs. Because that's a thing. Yeah, asynchronous stuff. Oh, Raphael has asked me, sorry for the delay. I will bump up the font size in my browser. Sure, no problem. Oh, that's maybe a bit too much. I'm going to bring it down a little. Let me know if that's better. Also, if you're communicating with me over IRC, that's great. I will notice it faster if you use my IRC nick, because my IRC client will like ping me. It will play a sound and then I'll hear it. And then otherwise, I'm just glancing periodically over at the channel. And so, sorry if it took me a while to get there. But let me know if my font settings are decent for you now. Okay. Great. Great. Glad it works. Okay. So next, what did I want to read about? So yeah, put that in an event loop. So let's move the printer enumerator into a runnable. A runnable is something that Gecko has. It's basically like deferring something until the next tick of the event loop. So it's a way of running something asynchronously. Move the printer enumerator in as device context spec. What a name. Into a runnable. Please use only one pointer to the print settings, as these are the same object. NS print settings GTK is fine if necessary and has the NSI print settings methods. I don't mind whether the pointer is called mprint settings or mprint settings GTK, but it may be simpler to keep calling it mprint settings. Yeah, it is really the same value. That's a good call. Yeah. All right. Don't replace as comptr NSI print settings, and then what was it called? Mprint settings with nscom ptr, ns print settings GTK, and print settings in ns device context spec GTK. Next, ns convert UTF-16 to UTF-8 is a class holding an extra copy of the strings. Please use mtitle truncate is a class holding an extra copy of the string. Huh. Oh, mtitle would erase, mtitle truncate erases it, and then you append UTF-16 to UTF-8. Okay. Again, strings are such a tragedy down in Gecko. I have no idea what's going on, but I'll just follow his advice. He sounds like he knows what he's doing. I should probably figure that out someday. Okay, so that's the majority of the feedback. I wanted to rethink about this, though, because that sounded like a thing. That's this, the GTK print settings new. I need to understand what he's saying, really internalize it, and then figure out whether or not I'm going to do it. Another thing I should tell you about is this was also on the agenda. Where was I? There's also some feedback in here from someone called DW Dev. This is actually in the same bug, despite the fact that I don't know why Carl's. Oh, you know what happened was Carl's review ended up in here because he first. Yeah, this was the first bug number. So we're still working out some kinks with Mozree, but I think I actually made a mistake here, and accidentally the review got posted in this bug instead of the other one. That's my bad. But we've got this comment from a developer here, DW Dev, who really seems to know their stuff about printers, print settings, and especially print utils and most of the front end, because I believe this dev works on the print edit add-on for Firefox, and this developer really knows their stuff, it seems. So they had some suggestions as well. I need to go through some of that. Oh, this person's name is Dave, so I will use the male pronoun. He gave me some suggestions on things I can do in here. I need to internalize that and figure out if I'm going to address that feedback as well. But I will get there. I'm going to do Carl's first, and then do Dave's. And then, you know what? That's actually down here. So this little exercise where I talk through my interpretation of what Carl said, I'm not going to do with Dave's stuff until we get there. So I'm going to start addressing the stuff in the other patches, fixing it all up. But yeah, the next step is to figure out what Carl meant with this. So let's go back down to that stuff. That was just a little diversion. Now time to understand what Carl is saying here. So if you don't mind, I'm going to just kind of read this in my head. I'm going to see if I can figure it out, what he's saying, because I have a feeling I'm distracting myself by talking out loud. So I'm going to read it in my head. I'm going to try and figure out what he's saying, and then if I figure it out, I will let you know. So I'm going to give myself 30 seconds. Here we go. Okay. Okay. What I think he is saying is that we should start with a brand new print settings. When we deserialize, we should, because right now we take in a, let me show you the code. Let me show you the whole enchilada. There's a whole bunch of patches that I pushed up for review. I'm going to show you the whole bunch of them smacked together. and then I can point out what he's talking about. So the deserialization stuff, that happens in NS print options GTK. Deserialize. We take this NSI print settings object, and then instead of overwriting it, I just like set all the values on it, and I reuse it, basically. And I think what he's saying is, instead of reusing it, I should destroy the original GTK print settings, excuse me, create a new one, and then set values on that. And that way we can be sure that there isn't any like unexpected stuff in there, is I think the idea. Okay, that sounds fine to me. So that's how I will interpret this. In deserialize to print settings, instead of reusing the GTK print settings, destroy it and create a new one. Now we'll have to be careful when we destroy it. We're going to need to make sure that we unlink it from everything that might refer to it before we destroy it, and rehook it up. Rehook up everything that links to the old one. We basically have to rewire everything to point to the new one, and then destroy the old one. That's how it's going to have to work. Okay. So, nice big shopping list of things to change. So let's change it. Okay. So I have a build here, a debug build that I can work with. The patches that Carl has reviewed are here at the top. Although he didn't review this one. This is the one that we were working on last week, which was making the calls not be sync. I pretty much have this done. This is kind of blocked on this work though. So I'm gonna probably finish this Linux stuff and then finish the 109.0439, which is making the calls not be sync. But yeah, let's figure out this printer turmoil. So let's move to, let's see, where did he start reviewing first? I think it was 256127. Initial serialization and deserialization. And that was here. Remove P printing H. You know what, actually? I created this checklist. Review board already gives me a checklist. I like creating checklists because it gives me a feeling of forward momentum. Sometimes having too many checklists is a pain in the butt. But you know what? It's not a total loss. Writing it down helped me figure it out. So I think that's important. So right, there were no problems with the here. Mossop reviewed this. I still have to go through Dave's feedback and figure out what he was talking about. But for Carl's feedback, that's later on. So here's the checklist. Yes. Okay, so the first one will be in this one for add initial serialization, deserialization capabilities. So I can update to, where am I right now? Did I update to the right place? I did. I'm in the right change set. And now I have to like reopen all these files to make sure that I don't clobber myself. Actually, none of these files are relevant to what I want to change. I want to open, what was it? Widget GTK, not embedding. Widget GTK, as print options GTK, and then it was in H and CPP. So here's H, widget GTK. Another thing that some people who are watching this, I've gone through my streams just to see the comment blocks in Vim here in my Ubuntu VM might be really hard to read. If that's the case, if that's a real problem, let me know, and I'll look into some alternative like edit skins, I guess, or whatever you call them, themes for Vim for when I'm streaming to make it easier to read. Let me know. Talk to me in IRC if that's a thing. GTK. What am I doing? Print options. I'm already looking at that. So print options GTK CPP. Print options GTK CPP. So the first thing he wants me to do is not include this. I don't want to directly include that. Instead, I'm going to forward declare it. Now, I have to use the namespace, but I can do that. I should probably continue to use the same indentation and bracket convention in here. Both the editor and browser are pretty hard to read because the res is just so jacked, says MIBOC something, bunch of characters. Okay, good to know. So for the people who are watching, Richard in the IRC channel mentioned this earlier, but I thought I'd let you know. We're going to try something new next week where instead of using the video tool to stream this, I'll be using OBS again, which is what I was using for YouTube Live. I believe that will be much higher res. Hopefully, the people who are watching the stream don't get totally bogged down by a humongous like resolution stream. Like hopefully your bandwidth can handle all my pixels. But we're going to try that next week, and hopefully that will resolve once and for all the resolution issues we're having here. So I will declare this struct. I think I can just do that. I think I can just forward declare it like that, and then I don't need to include it like that. Now, I don't like using, let's see, am I in the right place? I'm not in the right place. I need to be in sprint options gtk.cpp, not dialog. I actually don't mind using Mozilla embedding here and then just say print data. Yep. And print data here. Also, hang on, did I do that right? Yes, I did. Okay. How's my if you know any Vim shortcuts I should be using instead of, like, I'm not a Vim genius or a Vim ninja or anything. You may have, people who are really into Vim might have noticed that I do things inefficiently, in which case, please drop me a line. Let me know how I can do things more efficiently. This isn't just, I don't want this to be a thing where like there's one-way learning where people go, oh, that's what a Firefox engineer does. I'm hoping that the internet can tell me how I can do my job better. So come at me, bro. Let me know how let me know how I can do my job better. But be nice. Okay, so I think this should work. Let's give that a compile, and we'll move on to the other items. Okay, so fixed. Actually, you know what? Before I mark those as fixed, here's what I'm going to do. Because I want to keep moving forward and not just like wait for this to complete the build, because it's going to take a couple of minutes. I'm going to check this off and check this off, but only when I confirm that the fix took hold and like it compiles properly will I check it off in review board. And that way, I can keep track of like attempts and successes. So I guess this checklist isn't totally worthless. So that was it for this patch. Those are the only two issues. So I can move on to the next one, which is over here. A bunch of issues got opened, and I will take a look at those now. Right. Which one is this? Try calling out set GTK print things after deserialization. Okay, so this is that duplex thing. Right. Okay, good to know. Wow, what's going on, build? Build's doing a lot of disk IO. Pull yourself together, man. All right, well, while we're waiting, let's see. Try calling SetGTK print settings after deserialization. So there are a couple of things here. We're going to remove this set duplex inside NS print settings GTK, so that I can do now. Good, you're finally moving on. If this works, I will commit the current work to the repository and then rebase on top of it. And then I won't save, because I'm moving on to changes to a patch that I'm not currently updated on. I'm not actually going to save until that commit occurs. I know it sounds high risk. Trust me, I'm a professional. Except, hang on, is it in the same? Shoot, it is in the same file. That is going to be a problem. I can't make this change. I can make this change, so I'll do that. NSPrint settings GTK. How's my build going, by the way? All right. So what was I saying? So the set duplex thing that I was doing in the initialization. What? Oh, I haven't checked it out yet. Shoot. No, I can't move forward. I'm building, and yeah, that's a problem. This is what you get when you try and move too many things at once. So now I have to wait for this thing to move forward. Well, what can I do in the meantime? I hate being blocked. Being blocked sucks. So what can I do in the meantime? I guess I can take a look at Dave's feedback in this bug and start figuring out whether or not I want to do that. This shouldn't take too much longer, though. And subsequent rebuilds shouldn't take as long. But I've probably got like a minute and a half here. I might as well queue this up and I can start reading Dave's stuff. Because being blocked blows. Actually, I think I already have that tab open. And he's up here. We can interpret what he's saying. So I already replied to him here. I had opened a bug for another thing that he'd been interested in. One of the problems here is that, at least in the previous comment, it seemed to sprawl out into a bunch of different bugs, and that's sort of the challenge here. When you've got someone who comments in a bug report with other problems that are unrelated, that's very useful information, and you need to like file new bugs for them, but it can be hard if you're attempting to focus in on the one particular problem that the bug is for. So I'm really hoping that I can do that here. So, Mike, whilst developing and maintaining PrintEdit over several years, I've become very familiar with the printing JavaScript. I don't know if I wanted to be. I'm happy to review changes and make suggestions, but I would prefer not to get involved in implementing Firefox fixes because I have more than enough to do developing and maintaining my add-ons. Okay, that's fair enough. I reviewed the patch you posted. So the patch that he's referring to is about, it was actually the first patch in the series that Mossa bar plussed, which was instantiating the print settings inside the content process inside of the parent, which is something that we need to do for Linux. Still linking. All right. Generally, I think the patch is okay, but I do have some comments. So this is from, just so we're clear, this is from an add-on author who writes and maintains an add-on for printing, and probably this add-on author's orientation is towards like making sure that they have to do a few changes. So I can relate. I can understand that. You don't, as an add-on author, platform breakage blows. Let's try and minimize that if we can. So here we go. Between lines 172 and 173, you need to reinstate the following code. What code's that? Did I remove something? Print utils 172, 173. What? That stuff was never there. Or if it was, then it's been gone for at least a little while. State the following code. Missing in Firefox 3601, OA1. And the reason he wants me to do that is why? Is the saving of print settings not working? Print. Is it possible that I've completely broken saving print settings? Possibly. By accident. Does that value actually ever get read? Do it here whenever you change save print. So that never actually gets used in here. Oh, it gets, no, it gets set to the global here in get print settings. So let's see how things used to be. Hang on. While I'm waiting, where am I at? Hey, linking completed. So I have a feeling this build's going to work out. I must have played by the rules. So I think we can go ahead and check these two items off. Fixed. I'm going to say I've agreed, but I've opted to keep the using and just switch my usage of Mozilla embedding print data to Mozilla, no, to just print data instead. Hope that's cool. So, fixed, publish. So, good. We're done the changes there. Now if we're, hey, I think we're pretty much ready to move forward here. Great. Unfortunately, like I said, like if I were working on a typical feature in Firefox, one that wasn't like over a decade old, I'd probably run the suite of tests against it right now for each of these changes that I'm making. However, if you've been following along, you'll know that there aren't really a whole lot of tests for printing. And actually writing tests for printing is really, really hard. It's not designed for testing, unfortunately. Or not. It's not nicely designed for testing. And maybe that'd be something that'd be really good to do down the line. Right now, I don't really have the cycles. So I'm resorting to manual testing, but I might need to invest time in actually writing some tests at some point. Don't know how that'll work. Mocking out devices is pretty tricky, but we'll see. Maybe there's a way of me just faking out context specs or something, device context specs, and maybe that would be sufficient. Anywho, let us move on. So I'm on, you can't see where I'm pointing. I'm on this change set. You can see the little @ symbol here. I'm going to move to this one, which is the one that I've got more feedback on. So I'll use HG next. If you've never used, if you're wondering, where did you get HG next from? That's actually one of the commands that the evolve extension gives you. So mercurial evolutions. Oh, shoot, you know what? I failed to commit the work. And that's why I got this merging stuff happen. Please don't burn me. Okay, great. So I need to commit this work, and then you can watch me do a rebase. Unfortunately, so I don't know if this is the case for Git, for the Gecko repository for Git, but rebasing takes a couple of seconds, which is annoying. But what I'll do is I will amend my commit. This is another thing, the commit amend. That's something that the evolve extension gives us. If you're using Mercurial and you're not using evolve, get on board. There are some great blog posts from Greg Zork about using evolve. I highly recommend it. Where would I look for? Like Mercurial evolve, and then Zork. Now that's SZORC. Yeah, these things. And if you're using mercurial cues, every time you use a mercurial cue, Greg Zork, like, he sheds many tears. So avoid mercurial cues. Don't make Greg Zork cry. So I commit amended, which means now I have unstable change sets because I have to manually rebase them on top. If you'll take a look here in my graph log, here are the change sets. This X here means that this is the old version that has been outdated by my new change, and now I have to replay these changes on top of my stuff. So we're going to rebase changes 256128 to 256131 on top of tip. And we can keep moving. Again, sometimes rebasing in HG takes a while. I could also probably beef up this virtual machine. I'm also due for a hardware upgrade, so maybe at some point I'll get a beefier laptop, and maybe this will move faster. Maybe I'll get one with an SSD. That might help. Who knows? Okay, don't need that anymore. While I'm waiting for that rebase, I can context switch. So something you may have noticed if you've been watching me for a while is that I like to context switch. I don't like to get blocked on things. I like to context switch to keep myself moving. Some developers find that that's not something that they like to do. I feel like context switching actually makes me more efficient. And the secret to context switching for me anyways is this. Evernote allows me to like blast my state out into a note, and then I can context switch if I'm blocked on a bug, and then I can and then whenever I need to come back to it, I just grab my state back again. So great. Let's move on to this next piece of feedback. Speaking of context switching, I'm going to do a full context switch. I actually have a try build for a completely separate bug on running on try right now. I'm actually curious to know how that's going. I'm just going to take a quick peek. Oh, it's red. What did I do wrong? Shoot. All right, I'll deal with that later. Okay, and back to printing. Context switch complete. If you're curious about what I'm dealing with for that other thing that I just switched to, that's bug 10666812, which I might even talk about next week, depending on where I'm getting. I'm in mostly investigation mode in that one right now, and it's slow going, which is why I didn't think it'd be a very interesting thing for this episode of The Joy of Coding. One thing I've just remembered, though, is I failed to comment in the bug, sorry, not the bug, the video page with the links to the bug that I'm working on, as well as the link to the live notes. So I'm going to put that in right now. So bug and live notes, so I'm putting those, I'm commenting on the video right now. It's possible that you'll have to refresh the page in order to see it. I apologize. But if you want to follow along in these notes or read stuff that I've written or read in the bug, that stuff might be useful. So back to where I was. The next step is I've used HGNext to move to this revision, add GTK specific blah, 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 blah. So you can see that I've moved there, add GTK specific, print data fields and serialization, deserialization. So I've moved on to this next batch of stuff that Carl has asked me to fix. So let's get to it. Right, so that duplex stuff. Let's figure that out now. So now that I'm in here, I can set duplex. Yeah, I'd added this default duplex thing, which I can get rid of. He wants me to get rid of. This I might need to test afterwards, because the reason that I added that was because of a crash, and I remember the steps I remember the steps I went through in order to reproduce that crash, and I'd like to make sure that I don't actually reintroduce the crash. So that's a thing to look into. So yes, this stuff. So I think what I want to do is, now that I've removed that, then in NS print options GTK, after I've set all of these, I'm going to call set GTK print settings, just so we're clear on what that does. Let's pull that up from DXR. That's something that's a method on NS print settings GTK, and basically it takes a GTK print settings and does. Oh, this might actually do all of the rewiring for me that I was talking about before. Oh, good. Good. Okay. Okay. So maybe the rewiring isn't such a big deal. New paper size. Yeah, maybe it's not a big deal. So let's see. While I'm here, I don't need these two things. That was another issue they brought up, I believe, right? Right. Yep. No, that was actually for the other method as well, the deserialization, but I think I can get rid of these here. Right? Am I GTK paper size? Yeah, never used. GTK page setup. Never used. Just verified. Um, Page setup is never used, right? I think I just verified that, yeah. So I can get rid of those. So that's one thing to fix. And the other thing was, we want to create a new, in the deserialization, we wanted to create a new GTK print settings. Okay. Okay, to do, I have a feeling he had mentioned about remove this, or maybe putting it in a debug and asserting or something. Okay, so instead of just keeping it, let's create a new one. GTK print settings, new settings, equals GTK, what was it? What did he say? GTK, what was it called? Help me out here. What's it called? GTK printer settings, GTK print settings. I have the documentation here. GTK print settings init, I think it is. That's usually the pattern. Int, no, not int. GTK print settings new, that's it. And I get a new object back. Now, do I have to, anytime I call new, I'm always thinking about how I have to unref, like I have to think about the lifetime of the object. So how do we currently deal with that? We set mprint settings new, and then mprint settings. You unref it there. If you copy it here, set, you unref the internal one, and then it refs the new one. So who calls set GTK print settings? Set GTK print settings. Hmm. And then it unrefs it here. Yes. Okay. So I have to set it, and then I have to unref it, because NSI print settings will do the job of holding the ref, and then it's so bright. I'm standing in the middle of the sun. I should probably pull those shades down, but I don't want to waste time. So what I should do is, what was it called? GTK print settings new. Print settings new. And then I better NS ensure, if not, anytime you instantiate something, you have to make sure you actually got it, otherwise you're out of memory. And what is it called? NS error, and then memory. I'm trying to remember what the error code's called. NS error. Come on, DXR, help me out. Out. It's not E out of memory. NS error out of memory. Yeah, here we go. Return NS error out of memory. Okay. And then we need to go through each of these and then set on the new GTK print settings. And then down here, I don't even know if we need this. Maybe we do. Settings GTK. Maybe, you know what I should do is probably settings GTK set, what was it? Set, I'm always forgetting things. What was it going to be? Set GTK print settings? No, not this one. Set, no. Yeah. Set GTK. GTK print settings. Then you pass the pointer. Okay. Lowercase tk. Sometimes you see GTK in all caps. Sometimes you see it with the G just capitalized and the TK in lowercase. It's pretty annoying. Consistency. It's nice. So I'm going to set it to the new GTK print settings. And that will do the job of unreffing the old one. And then settings, so I'm going to put in a comment here, NS print settings, GTK is holding a reference to new GTK print settings. So we're okay to unref and okay to unref it here. So GTK, was it G object unref? New GTK print settings. And after you unref something, GTK print settings equals null pointer, you null it out. Something I learned in school. And then you save new page size. So I think that's what he wanted. Will it blend? That's the question. Will this work? I think it's going to work. I suspect it'll work. Now the way to test this, actually, let me just take a look at one of the changes, all the changes in total that I made. The best way to test this is to actually try a print, because if it crashes the content process, then that means that, well, it didn't work, because we probably, that duplex thing burned us. That's really the steps to reproduce, is you try to print. I will need the other 2 patches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new commit on top of this, which I'll call Carl T changes, because I'm not entirely sure they're right yet. I don't exactly want to fold them in right away. I don't want to lose the information by commit amending. So I'll put a new commit on top. Then I'm going to rebase the other stuff on top of this. And if I need to do any further changes, I'll do it inside this Carl T changes commit. And then once I'm happy, I'll fold it into the GTK specific print data fields and serialization deserialization patch. That's my plan. Excuse me. Oh, come on, Glog. All right, so the trick is now to rebase 256135 and 256137 on top of tip. And then we're going to build. And that's going to take a couple minutes again. So while I'm doing that, while it's building and chugging along, I also don't necessarily want to be. Oh, I have some conflicts. Not entirely surprising. This is what happens when you rebase GTK. Oh, I've already got it open. Shoot. It's in here? Yeah, it's in here. Yeah, it's because of the stuff I removed. And I still think we should have it removed, so no big deal. And where else? No, nowhere else. We're good. We're good. We did it. Resolve, mark, widget, GTK, as print options, GTK. Come on, keep up. As print options, GTK. Yes. I don't know what's the deal with my machine. All right. I have a feeling. So I'm also, while I'm recording through video, I'm also recording myself with OBS. That way, the stream, and then I'm going to upload that stream to Air Mozilla, so that the final recorded stream that people who in the future are watching should be super high quality. So for the people watching right now, if you are not too jazzed about the screen resolution, take heart. In probably less than 24 hours, at the URL that you're viewing right now, there should be a new recording put up of this exact same screencast, stream, whatever you want to call it, but it should be crazy high resolution. So let's keep going. So I've resolved that. We're going to continue our rebase. What's our time here? I've got like 15 minutes or so before I want to call it a day with the stream. Let's see how far we get. So like I said before, I've actually made some of these changes. Try calling such a, yeah, we did that. Get serialized GTK print settings out of the NS print settings GTK header. No, haven't done that. Remove unused. We've done that. Deserialize. Instead of reusing the GTK, destroy it and create a new one. Done. Okay, so we've done those things. And merging, updating. I'll kick off a build, and then we'll keep looking at DW devs feedback and try and understand it, interpret it, and make decisions on whether or not we should do things with it. Where am I at now? So the actual, I don't want to check out tip and build tip. I'm going to check out this one, because in order to test all this, I actually need to make sure that we don't re-trigger that crash. I actually need to print, and in order to print, I actually need this other stuff. It all kind of depends on one another. So yes, these are atomic commits that I've made, apparently, allegedly, but the actual ability to test these ones down here require these ones up here, which isn't so great, but that's how I did it. So I'm going to check out this, which was enable the printing, and then I will build, and then we will start looking at Dave's feedback again. Debug, mock, build. Let's just do the whole enchilada. Let's not beat around the bush. Okay, so back to Dave's feedback, which was over here. It's up here. he was talking about those two, like saving the print settings. And where I was at was like, okay, these apparently haven't been there since, I think he's saying that these have been missing since Firefox 36. So it's been a while. That I may have accidentally removed these in some of my earlier printing work. Let's find out if that's the case. 36 was just shipped. So I may have actually I think 36 just shipped. What am I on? 39, 38, 37. Yeah, 36 just shipped. So if I've broken print settings saving, that's balls. Hope that's not the case. Maybe I can uplift a patch to beta, and then it'll be fixed in 6 weeks for all you release folk. But if for some reason, if you're out there and you're watching this and printing you've been trying to save your print settings is just not working, then I might be the guy to blame, and you can point me to this video and say it was you, and I will be at your mercy. So what's he talking about here? This stuff. So the question I want to answer is, was this stuff removed by some of my earlier printing patches? That's a great question, and let's check it out. Earlier patches were in, what did I call it? Print utils. I was making print utils e2nes friendly. Yeah, this stuff. So where did it land? It landed in 36. And save print settings to prefs. Ah, I did remove some stuff. You know what? He is positively correct. I removed these two things, and they didn't get put back. So what does that mean? Okay, let's try and evaluate. So my first instinct is to like freak out and be really sad because we just shipped 36 yesterday. Today is the day after we shipped 36, and I really hope we haven't made printing just not work properly for people. So let's assess what the ramifications of this are. If G print settings are global, so this code will only ever execute if G print settings are global and G save print settings. So when are these values true? If this is a rare case, I will feel less bad. So it defaults to false, and it only is ever set to true when. We're missing code. We're missing information. When is it ever? It's only ever here. It's set to true if these prefs are true, and they're defaulting here to false. And use global print settings. Shoot. Defaults to true here. And the other one, save print settings. Yeah, we also are supposed to do that. So we do actually enter this code block in the default case. That's not great. Starting to sweat. Okay. We get the settings service. This is whenever we start a print. Okay. My hypothesis is that print settings are not being saved from print job to print job, and that this is a regression. So that's actually a really good point. Wish we'd caught that sooner. Let us test whether or not that's true, and if it is true, then we will then we'll file a new bug against 36 and hopefully have it fixed. I don't think it should be too bad to fix this. That's not great. Meanwhile, we're linking over here, so that's good. So how do I test? How do I test? What's a good way to test? The reason I'm asking this is because I'm on OS X, and OS X uses its own like print settings stuff that I don't fully trust right now, having read some of the printing code. So my test cases that I really want to work with are on Linux and Windows. So I need to get a release version of 35 and then a release version of 36 and then individually test them with printing settings and see if the print settings are saved in 35 and not saved in 36. So that's a thing I want to do. That I think actually has higher priority because we're talking about a regression here. Wish I'd read Dave's feedback sooner. Could have prevented this regression. You are seeing me at my most humble. No, it's not true. I've been more humble before. Okay, here we go. We are going to get some links. I want to get a version of Firefox 35. So I'm going to the FTP server. .35. Where did we ever get with 35? 3501. Yeah. Okay. And I have a 86 machine. Perfect. And we will copy this. So I will do this separately. I'll do this over here. Where's a good place to put this stuff? Yeah, I usually have this like FX directory to test builds, so I'm gonna get rid of the old builds that I was testing and get this one. So I'll get that. And then I'll get a link to 36, which is the current release. And then depending, it's 222, you'll get to watch me file a bug. We'll see if my build finished. We'll test the build to see whether or not this changes that Carl asked for, reopen that crash. And then I think I'm going to call it a day. But that's what I'm thinking we'll do. So actually, let me put that on the agenda, just so I don't forget what I'm doing. Always write it down. Okay, so what am I doing? Test 35 for printing. Test 35 and 36 for print settings save regression that DWDev pointed out. And then what else? I want to see if Carl T's suggestion reopens crash. And file bug. Okay. We might go a little long. I have a feeling I can't cram all of this into the 6 minutes I have remaining. So I might go a little long here. Sorry about that. So I'm going to actually create a 35 directory and move that in there. Create a 36 directory. And we'll download 36 in here. Meanwhile, in a separate terminal, I don't need GDB right now. I will get into 35. We will unzip 35. Decompress. And then this one, I will similarly decompress 36 whenever it is done downloading, which is right now. Tarx, VVF, Firefox. So that one's unzipping as well. So those are unzipping. This built fine, so I can run this now, but I'm just gonna I'm not going to run it just yet. I'm going to do this regression test first. So, how do I test this? 35. I'm going to run Firefox. I'm going to create a new profile, print test. Yeah, I'm going to create a profile called print test. Firefox starts up. Not now. I have Nightly as my default browser. Don't ask me again. Not now. Not now. Okay, so let's try printing this page. Print. And I will see if I can save these settings. So my settings are pages. What are some? I'll set the scale. I'll set the scale to 50%. And the orientation to landscape. And let's see if that stuff gets saved. Yeah. Yeah, okay, and I'll print to my PDF printer. Boom. Now, like I don't care about the actual print job. But what I care about is, yeah, so I've got 50% and landscape. So it works in 35. Print saving works. So now let's take a look at 36. So Firefox opens. This is brand new Firefox 36. What am I going to do? I'll try and print this page because it's an HTML document. I can do that. Print. It has the information from before, but I'm going to set the scale to 75 and set it to portrait now to print. And now, I'm going to print again. Shoot, yeah, the regression is in 36. Okay. Okay. So let's get a bug on file. And now I'm wondering if perhaps I wonder if anyone else has already filed this. I would be surprised, but I guess maybe I haven't been watching the printing component close enough. And maybe people have been complaining about this and it just wasn't brought to my attention. That would really blow. I don't want to own printing in the end, but I don't want to make it worse. So I'll be interested in anything that tracks. See, like, that's all stuff I filed. No, I don't see anything in here that sounds like it. All right, print settings. And then I'd be looking at all newish bugs. Page print settings are ignored and overwritten after upgrades. That might be it. Print dialog will not remember settings. That's old, but then was recommented on January 9th. Strange resizing. So I've got two possibles here, but both of them are kind of old bugs. I don't think this is the one. Works for me, still a problem. Band works for me latest nightly. I remember blocks. Paper selection, internals broken. Paper selection, non-printable margins, querying, need a rewrite. Zach Weinberg. This is all unrelated. So I think we need to file a new bug. Shoot. I hate opening regressions. I especially hate shipping regressions. And we just shipped one. Printing. So you get to watch me eat crow. And is it eating crow? What's the term I'm looking for? Mea culpa. This is my fault. I can totally own up for this. So I'm going to say all, even though it's not OSX. Well, yeah, it'll probably be all, actually. I believe it will be all. Print settings are not saved from print job to print job, affecting the 36 branch. And then this will block the bug that regressed it, which was my bug. My patch here, make print utils. What's this one? Yeah. It's a little regression that was never solved, so we will block that. Steps. So the first thing to do whenever you put in a new bug report is steps to reproduce. This is what I do anyways. Steps to reproduce. 1. Oh, not all caps. Don't yell. View an HTML page in Firefox. 2. Open, click on the, go to File, Print to print the document. Set some print settings like print in landscape or scaling settings. Print the page. Reopen the go to File, Print to print the document again. Expected results. The print settings by default should be persisted from print job to print job. Instead, they are forgotten. Oh, that should be under actual results. Print settings are reset from print job to print job. This is a regression, so I put in the regression keyword. I caused this with bug 1082575, I'm afraid. I'm going to put my reviewer, who is Mossip, I'll put him on this bug as well, Mossip, so he knows what's up. I'll probably take this bug, and then we should probably get this in the backlog. Actually, you know what? This might be a good bug to mentor, so I won't assign it to myself. Maybe we can turn this into a learning opportunity. But definitely, status Firefox 36 is affected. 37 is affected, 38 is affected, and 39 is affected. Unfortunately, this regression. It's too bad we didn't catch that. I feel bad. I feel pretty bad. And I think I can just plus the Firefox backlog. Should get that in there. Hate shipping regressions. Hate it. Okay. Submit. Okay, so who knows? Depending on the release driver for 36, whoever's running 36 might feel like this is worth doing a point release for. Maybe we're already doing a point release, in which case they might take a patch to do a point release, and that might get fixed. Alternatively, if it's not worth doing a point release, we'll do we'll probably land a fix on 37, 38, and 39, and it'll be fixed when we ship in the next 6 weeks. So, filed that bug. That's what we wanted to do here. And then we wanted to see if Carl's suggestion reopens the crash. That's another thing we want to do over here. And then I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it a day and then take a nap. No, not really. But that other bug I was showing you with that try build that failed, I have to dig into that a little bit. I might need to make a little bit more noise about this regression that we just identified, see whether or not I should put wheels on that ASAP. I just invented some slang, meaning I should like write a patch right now, or should we take the opportunity to like mentor someone on it? I have a feeling because it's a regression and, well, it's not something that's like a little thing. I have a feeling it's kind of annoying. It's like a paper cut. I just shipped a paper cut. I should probably just write the patch to fix it. Oh, Tab Crasher might be making nightly run slowly. I wrote Tab Crasher. So we just reintroduced this UI for informing a user about slow add-ons. See how that goes. What am I doing? Come on. Pull it together, content process. Are you there? What's going on here? Why is this so slow? What's wrong with my machine right now? Apparently OBS is taking like 50% of my processor while I'm recording. No wonder my machine feels so sluggish. All right, well. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to try and kick off a print job. We're going to see if it crashes, or if it doesn't, then I'm going to cap the stream. So, print. In the content process, because I've got the underline here, so that means that this is a remote tab. And I did crash. Okay, well, there's something to figure out there. So I do have a problem that I still need to figure out. That suggestion from Carl's, I may have not implemented it correctly, but it seems to have reared its head. Well, you know what? I'm curious. Let's just take a look and see what the backtrace is. How's it? 29471. Let's take a quick check to see where this crash came from. See if we can get a backtrace. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Read the symbols. I'm an impatient guy. Camp Hayes likes my paper cut analogy. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. I'm sorry for shipping a regression. That was my bad. That's a mea culpa. What the deal? I'm pretty certain that the slowness is caused by OBS recording this. Let me just, while I'm waiting, read my activity monitor. OBS is eating up good chunk of memory. Also this, oh, I'm swapping like crazy, yeah. I'm out of memory is basically what's going on. My nightly is also eating up a ton of memory. Okay. At least you're honest about your regression. Well, I try to be honest. Yeah, set duplex. It is, like I said, we're passing in a duplex that is way too big. And we call Moz assert and we fail. So that's the thing that I had run into before. Okay, so that needs to get fixed. if you're interested in my progress on this bug, I'm going to cap the stream right here. So let me turn my camera back on. And you can see me being mostly blinded by sunlight. Notice the sun has moved. I was standing here for most of it, so like, I was getting a lot of sunlight. So I'm going to move over here now, and you can see me. So I'm going to cap the stream right here. I'm sorry if Gunther just mentioned that the stream resolution was still a bit low. I'm sorry about that. The recording that's going to go up of the stream will be at a much higher resolution, so if you want to go back and rewatch some parts of it, hopefully the stream resolution will be much higher. Next week we're also going to try an experiment. I'm going to try streaming using a tool called OBS, which some of you might be familiar with, which will hopefully cause a higher stream during the live stream portion as well. So hopefully that will help that problem. Other things that I wanted to talk about. Let me just go over my notes. Oh, any tips for me? Anything that you feel like I should do? Maybe you're watching me use Vim and you're pulling your hair out because I'm using it so inefficiently, or maybe you think that my use of Evernote is an abomination, and you have a way better tool that you think I could be using instead of Evernote for what I'm trying to do. Let me hear about it. I want to learn. So tell me, give me your tips, give me your ideas. And if you have any questions for me, maybe you've seen me do some stuff around in Gecko and you don't exactly know what I was doing or how I did it, or maybe you're curious about some stuff I did with Mercurial or Vim or the printing or maybe some of the commands I use in the shell, anything like that. Either ping me on IRC, you can talk to me on IRC, or you can send me a message over Twitter. You can open up a conversation. I'm happy to talk about this sort of stuff. And I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Again, I mean, we sort of followed a semi-plan. We kind of got to a point there where I felt a little bit sad about the regression, but the good news is we found it. Knowing is better than not knowing. I'd rather that we know about it and try and fix it than ship it, and then years later we realize, oh, we had a regression since Firefox 17 or something. So this is good. We're as soon as we know it, we can fix it. So I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back next week at 1 p.m., same time, 1 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, I hope to see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.